Okay, while I have this part open in here, I wanted to also show you how we can take advantage of some of the steep area machining toolpaths. Um, we have different types of steep machining. We have the steep Z finishing and steeps machining. I'm sure you're all familiar with the horizontal finishing toolpath, which is ideal for machining steep areas. Now, however, when you take a look at this part, you'll notice that there are certain areas that are not too steep, and you can see in these areas the toolpaths are more faceted in these areas where there aren't much steepness, or typically where you notice are towards the flatter sections in the model. Now, to exclude these areas from being programmed and be able to only program the steep areas, one of the methods that you could use is called steeps Z finishing. Now, in this method, you could specify an area to restrict or contain your toolpaths, very similar to how you've been doing in other methods, and you specify a tool for it, and then in the cutting parameters, you could specify to machine areas steeper than, and you can specify an angle in here. Now, when this is specified, and it's very similar to horizontal finishing, it's going to exclude areas that are less than 45 degrees in computation of this toolpath, and I'm going to specify a step over in here and then pick generate. So you'll notice that the steep Z finishing, which is also known as horizontal hill machining, will exclude the areas that are under 45 degrees. So you can see that these areas are automatically being excluded. So when you compare this with the horizontal finishing, you'll notice that this automatically ignores areas that are under 45 degrees of steepness. So this method can be used when you have geometries that have sculpted areas in addition to steep areas, and you want to exclude some of those near flat areas or that are not very steep. So it's a great method for programming it. So this is one of the alternatives to using horizontal finishing. And this is also a part of our 3-axis advanced machining module. You'll find it under steeps Z finishing. Now, the next method in the steep machining I would like to go over is the steeps machining. Now, this is also known as parallel hill machining, so for machining steep areas. And in the cut parameters, you can specify the maximum steepness angle and then your previous cut angle. So if you had a parallel finishing operation programmed with a angle of cut set to 0, you can specify that as your previous cut angle, and you can choose to cut cross directions only, which is what is across from 0 would be only 90, or you can do cut both directions, which will do basically both 0 and 90, and you can choose your cut direction as climb, conventional, or mixed, and put in your step over parameters to generate it. So this method is ideal for programming steep areas as well. And as you can see here, the parallel hill machining, also known as steeps finishing, can be used for finishing steep areas.
The reason the previous cut angle is important is the assumption here is that you as a programmer are using parallel finishing as a finishing method in your previous operation, and so you use some sort of angle of cut to generate the toolpath. And then, as many of you know, if you have steep areas in an angle that is not perpendicular to your angle of cut, you're going to leave a lot of material because of the nature of the toolpath. If it is the steep area is parallel to your angle of cut, you're going to leave a lot of scallops on the sides of these walls. So that's why if you do a cross cut, you can come in and clean out just those areas. Uday has done both cuts here, but if you go back and change that to just a cross cut only, cut just the cross direction, you're going to come back and only cut the direction in the direction that your previous cut did not cut. So this is a nice method to clean out some of those scallops. Thank you, Uday.
Thank you, Joe. I'm going to add a parallel finishing toolpath with the angle of cut at 0 so that you can see the areas where when you're using an angle of cut of 0, you can see that these areas, it's leaving more scallops because if the the nature of this parallel finishing tool path based on angle of cut. Now when you switch to the hill machining, those areas which is basically across from 0 gets machined away. So this might be a very good way to go back and finish those areas based on your previous angle of cut. So you could use the steep machining methods, the steep machining, also known as parallel hill machining, and the steep Z finishing as horizontal hill machining. So these methods can be used for programming steep areas.